Ocean Pines is a vibrant residential community nestled on Maryland's eastern shore. With over 9 miles of waterfront property, amenities like an 18-hole championship golf course and a public yacht club, and a rich history dating back to 1968. Of course, if you live here, you probably know most of that. And if you don't, it's almost all apparent from your first visit. Each week on the PinesCast, we work to bring out the ocean pines that might be less apparent. We celebrate the region, the amenities, and, most of all, the people who make and keep Ocean Pines a special place to live. Welcome to the PinesCast, your source of news and insights about Ocean Pines and the official podcast of the Ocean Pines Association. This week on the PinesCast, we are speaking with Karen Adcock. She is the vice president of the Pines Tones. It's a choral group. They do 2 shows a year, and they do sometimes fun things in between. But mostly it's about the singing. We're going to get into all of that with Karen in just a second. I do want to bring to your attention that if you have any requests or anything you'd like to hear on the show, just reach out to me. My email is bytonyrusso@gmail.com. That's bytonyrusso@gmail.com. All right. Well, here's Karen. So as we're speaking today, you are the treasurer of the Pine Tones. But before you became the treasurer of the Pine Tones, you came to Ocean Pines. So can you tell me kind of how you got to Ocean Pines and what your experience in Ocean Pines so far has been?
Certainly. I personally moved here in 2009, and I came here to look after my mom, who had been living with my brother in the Pines, and he and his wife were moving to Colorado, and she wanted somebody nearby. Yeah, she wanted to go with them, but she had COPD and couldn't take the altitude.
Yeah.
But she loved Ocean Pines. In fact, I grew up in Northern Virginia, and right after I left to go to college, she moved the entire family to this area, and she was a real estate broker and got busy trying to sell houses in Ocean Pines. So Ocean Pines has been on my radar since the late 60s. And anyway, so she was here with my brother, and I moved in here to be nearby with my daughter. Right after I moved here, my mother had a major health thing, and we were tied up for like the next 3 years just dealing with that. And I didn't know anybody. And I thought, why did I do this? But it's such a friendly place that we managed in those early years. And when I was first my mom was feeling better, and I was first able to get her out somewhere. It was Christmas time, and we went to the Pine Tones concert, their Christmas concert that they had. They used to be in Ocean City, so I took her to that concert, and I was so struck by the music was good. It was very enjoyable music, but I was so struck by how obviously happy everybody in the group was. They weren't. I'm an actor. I know how to pretend to be happy, but these people were really happy. So after the show, I was in the bathroom, and I mentioned to hey, Pine Tone people, you guys seem like you're all having such a great time. And they just couldn't shut up about what a great time they had. So it was actually through the Pine Tones that I met almost every other single person who's been a friend or supporter or acquaintance since then. They opened a lot of doors to me. I joined the group and networked my way through all sorts of places because of Ocean Pines first, and then the Pine Tones.
A couple quick things. The first thing is, would you mind saying your mother's name so people who are listening who might remember her will remember her?
Yes, her name was Audrey Mendenhall.
And you also mentioned having Ocean Pines on your radar since the 1960s. Was this a place you visited as a kid as well, or just something you talked about? Or
Oh, yeah. We used to come to Ocean City every summer. But this was before there was an Ocean Pines. But we would come up every summer, and we, saw and read all of the negotiating about and all the arguing about building it. I used to ride horses at the stables that used to be right outside of Ocean Pines. We watched all the early digging and development. Yeah.
I don't recall, but we interviewed one of the people who put up the horse riding field. Was that something I guess you didn't have to be a resident to do that. You just took classes there? How did that work?
No, it was pay as you go. You could just rent a horse and ride it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And did you take it around along the trails and things like that? I know that there were trails at the time. I don't know if
Yeah.
there still
Yeah, it
are.
was great. There are some trails that are people don't know about there's a little development called St. Martin's by the Bay, which is right across the street. And there's a lot of trails through there. And then, of course, those were the trails that we could ride on. And there were trails in that whole Whitehorse Park, Ocean Pines area that used to be rideable, but they're gone.
What was it like for you as a kid there? I guess you didn't really see it as a separate place. You just saw it as part of your trip to Ocean City.
Well, Ocean Pines wasn't a development when I was a kid. It was an idea of a development, and there were plans, and there was bickering, and there was permitting, and all of that. And it just got really up and running about the time I was leaving home to go to school.
I see.
Which is kind of why my mom moved out here then. She saw it as an opportunity. She wanted to get away from the city. We lived in the Washington, D.C. area. She wanted to get away from the city, and she loved it out here, and she saw Ocean Pines as her vision of Ocean Pines is basically what it ultimately turned into.
Once you started getting involved in the Pinetones, what was that process like? Do you just jump in and start singing? Do you come to a couple meetings? How much meeting? How much singing? What is that whole thing?
What I did, and what somebody would do now is, well, I was told when they were going to start rehearsing again, and I showed up at the first rehearsal and introduced myself, and people welcomed me and introduced themselves, which was pointless because I didn't remember anybody's name at first. And they gave me music, and I had somebody sit next to me who was gracious about, cueing me about what we're going to be doing and how it's going to go. And then I just was part of the group. It's a very welcoming organization.
Something that you just were able to jump right into. When you started being more involved, what are some of the things that the Pinetones do beyond singing? Or what are some of the singing things that they do that you really love to be a part of?
In addition to the 2 big concerts that we do every year, in the weeks running up to each concert, for a couple of weeks before each concert, we do little mini shows at local nursing homes, retirement homes, adult daycare centers, things like that. And I really enjoy doing that because they're a very appreciative audience. It's a way of giving them access to entertainment that in many cases they wouldn't have access to. And we get to meet and talk to the people. We always go to they've changed their name recently and I don't remember it. There's an adult daycare center, a large one in Snow Hill. And that's one of the places we always go. And there was a gentleman there who for years, he loved it when we came, and he always would bring a tambourine with him. And no matter what we were singing, whether it was Christmas carols or the Beatles or whatever, he accompanied us on his tambourine.
That's
and
great.
we just looked forward to him every single year, every single season when we were back there. We also, as a group, we sing at the Arbor Day Memorial Ceremony, and we've done other events throughout Ocean Pines. We have sung for years. We sang outside the Atlantic Hotel a couple times a year. And so as a group musically, we would do that. Outside of music, we just play. We have a dinner every year as a scheduled event, but mostly we just socialize, not the whole group all the time because it's a lot of people, but it's I'd say probably 80% of the friends I have are also Pinetones.
Now, when you say, it is a very, very large group, and I want to put this positively, but is there does not everybody show up every time? Is it that large a group that it's still functional even if not everybody makes it to every practice or whatever?
Well, here's the deal. It's not as large as it used to be.
Ah,
So we are definitely looking for new members. But to answer the question you asked, when we rehearse, we usually have about 10 formal rehearsals before a performance, before our concert.
hmm,
We really want people to come to all 10 of those rehearsals, but it's not always possible. Medical issues or
right.
whatever. Most people come to all or nearly all of the rehearsals. And if they weren't coming all the time, it would show, they wouldn't
Right.
know what they were doing. So nobody wants to make a fool of themselves. So,
And it's only 10 rehearsals. It's not like it's
yeah, it's not like we're beating you up with rehearsals.
right, 5 days a week.
That's actually, from a practical standpoint, another reason why we like the nursing homes. Basically, they serve as last minute little rehearsals that we subject these people to.
That's great. Hey there, listeners. Are you in the Ocean Pines area and looking for a pharmacy that goes above and beyond? Look no further than Tidal Health Home Scripts. Open 6 days a week, our knowledgeable pharmacists are ready to fill your prescriptions in just minutes. Plus, we offer free home delivery in the Ocean Pines area and have a super convenient drive-through window. Need over-the-counter items? We've got a large selection. And with our monthly sales, you'll find everything you need at great prices. Conveniently located at the North Gate of Ocean Pines, Tidal Health Home Scripts is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. To fill a prescription or arrange for a free home delivery, give us a call at 410-543-4769. That's 410-543-4769. Remember, that's Tidal Health Home Scripts, your trusted pharmacy partner. And so one of the other kind of interesting things I wanted to talk about were the individual performances. So can you tell me what the next one is and what it's going to be like and where and all of those things?
Yes, the next one is going to be the formal title, I don't think is set yet, but it's basically music from the 70s, pop music from the 70s. It's going to feature things like Chicago, John Denver, Carole King, Three Dog Night, songs like that. And
I'm
pardon?
sorry, I want to interrupt you with a personal story that I'm just going to have in my head until I say it because you said Three Dog Night.
Okay.
One of the things that I do in my spare time is I go to Aquasize, and I'm about 15 years younger than most of the Aquasize people. And I've been going for years, and that's, I tell the old, the Richard Linklater joke, I like going to Aquasize because I keep getting older, but the girls all stay the same age.
Yes, yes.
And the other day, Mama Told Me Not to Come came on and everybody went nuts and was kind of singing along. And it was really weird because it used to be, when I started going, it used to be like mostly Motown would kind of get everybody started. And now the people who were teenagers in the 70s are in the pool with me now. And it's a really interesting flip because, with no offense intended at all to the early 60s and late 50s, there's a really much more rich kind of American rock tradition starting in the early 70s that kind of gets lost. So when you said, it was just yesterday that everybody was singing Mama Told Me Not to Come.
Great. That's
and
great.
you just said that you do Three Dog Night as part of your performance. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but
oh no, it's a good story.
and it's good to know that, I'm not going to go and hear the same show tunes that I heard, 35 years ago at these kinds of concerts.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mama's going to tell you to come to this concert.
Absolutely.
And
I'm sorry to derail your story. So you're doing songs from the 70s and
yes, and obviously we're a choral group, so it's not really a rock version, but they're
right.
rocky. I mean, they're
Yeah.
they're upbeat, and there's going to be some solo opportunities. And our last spring show was music from the 60s, mostly the late 60s.
Mm.
And you couldn't shut up the audience. Everybody
Right.
knew every word, and they all completely sang along and clapped along. And I think this is going to be a show similar to that. They're going to know all, or at least most of the songs that we do, and it's going to be a great trip down memory lane.
I don't know how you guys feel about it as performers, but I like to be at shows that are more like, quote, real concerts, like where it's okay if you sing along a little bit, and it's okay if you kind of dance along a little bit, where you're not expected to just kind of sit and endure.
Oh, yeah. Well, that brings up a good point, actually, because being a music lover of all kinds of genres, often when you go to something like this, a choral concert, not only does the audience have to sit there and be very quiet and well behaved the whole time, but the performers are standing at attention all the time. And we kind of do that, but we're there to have you have fun, but we also want to have fun too.
Mm.
So particularly in a show like this one, absolutely. Everybody's willing to, we don't want you to sing louder than us, but that would be
Right.
hard to do. And there's always some little pieces of humor and things built in. We have a little subgroup. I don't know what we'll be doing in that group for this show. We have a little subgroup called the Pine Nuts.
Mm.
And they can be counted on to bring some silliness and spontaneity to the show.
Well, the other thing about the singing along, and again, this is just because I was in the pool watching it yesterday, when a group sings, it's kind of like a harmonica. Like everybody's close enough that they're all kind of in the same thing. So I guess when you guys sing and there's that low hum in the background, it's almost like being accompanied by a harmonica.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And they can provide some of the percussion, banging it. Yeah. So yeah, we like to think of our shows more as almost a collaboration with the audience. We don't expect you to. It's not Carnegie Hall and the New York Philharmonic. We're part of the community. We're your friends. We're your neighbors. We want it to feel that way.
And have you guys set a date yet? Do we have a date locked in and a place locked in?
Well, I believe the date is June 6th. It'll be the first Friday in June, so it's June 6th, and we usually start at 7:30, and I don't see that would change. And it is at the community church at Ocean Pines, and all of our spring shows have been at that venue for years now. And so it'll be June 6th, 7:30, community church at Ocean Pines.
Mm.
We do charge admission for the spring concerts. The Christmas shows are always free, though we pass the hat.
Right.
And we haven't actually set the admission for this show yet because the board is meeting in a couple of weeks to make that decision. But it's not a bank breaker.
Yeah, that's what I doubt $1 one way or the other is going to keep someone home.
Yeah, it's not like, $50. I don't think so. Yeah, no. It won't be bad.
The Christmas concert is the other concert. So or do you guys have like the summers off? Like after June, do you just pick up again in the fall, or what happens during the summer for the Pine Tones?
Yeah, normally what our calendar looks like is we'll begin rehearsals for the spring show either the end of February or the beginning of March. This year it's the first Thursday in March. And
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt and derail you again, because as this comes out, there's still time to join the Pine Tones then in time for the next coming concert.
Yes, there is.
Right,
and I'm going to be making a pitch about that.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I'll make it now. Our first rehearsal is going to be March 6th, and we rehearse from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. in the Assateague Room in the community center here in Ocean Pines. And if anybody is interested, they can either just show up at that first rehearsal, or what we would prefer so that we can prepare for you and we can make sure there's a book for you and everything, is for you to get in touch with us in advance. That way we can find out what your vocal range is, whether you'll sing alto, soprano, tenor, bass, whatever.
Mm.
And we'll have a head count. We'll know. But if you haven't done that, definitely, if you're interested, just show up to the first rehearsal. We'd like it if you'd show up at the first rehearsal, but you'd kind of have to show up within the first few. Otherwise, you'll be behind.
You can't just show up on the night, is what you're saying?
Yes. And we've had people actually try to do that, and we've had to try to be kind and say, you come back next season.
Right.
It's a little late. But so our rehearsals will start Thursday, March 6th, and we'll meet every Thursday afternoon for an hour and a half or 2 hours. The way it usually works is the whole group will practice for, say, an hour and a half of it, and then some of the little subgroups or soloists will rehearse for another half an hour. So we practice until that concert, which for the spring is going to be the first week of June. Then we are off and we reconvene formally, usually in the beginning of September, to start working on the Christmas show. And we do the same thing, rehearse the same place. And as of this past year, the Christmas show is also at the community church at Ocean Pines.
Where did it used to be?
It used to be at Atlantic United Methodist Church in Ocean City, because our original director and founder, June Todd, was the music director there. And June directed the group for 38 years. This is our 41st year. And June directed the group for 38 years of the 41 years we've been in existence.
And so who is your new director and how did you find them?
Our director is Jenny Anderson, and she's a fabulous musician in Southern Delaware. She and her husband are both excellent musicians. And we hired Jenny about 5 or 6 years ago as an accompanist. We needed a new accompanist. So she was coming in and playing the piano for us. And as June was slowing down and realizing that she didn't want to do this full time anymore, Jenny stepped up and they were sharing the director responsibilities for a while. And then as June stepped away, Jenny stepped in.
Oh,
and we're really fortunate. She can play, she can sing. Her husband is an excellent musician as well. So they've both brought a lot to the group. I mean, it was great anyway. And June she's the one who set the tone for this to be fun and neighborly and supportive. And we have made a concerted effort to carry that forward as we are evolving, as groups do, but we're trying to keep that fundamental thought behind everything that we do.
And we're not quite up against it yet, but I do want to talk about Jim Adcock, if you don't mind. He was a colleague of mine. I don't know if you know this or not, but we worked together at the Bayside Gazette when I first started.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes, I did know that.
Yeah. And I mean, I haven't seen him unfortunately in more than a decade. But we had a beer when my first beer book came out. We went and we had a beer together at the Globe, and we were talking about some of the art books that he was looking at doing, and I just have such fond memories of him. He was just a really, really solid guy. And so, I mean, very belated condolences.
Thank you very much. But you mentioned art books, and he was in the very last stages of finishing one called Painting Delmarva when he passed away. And I am going to be getting it finished. I had a lot of practical things getting in the way. One of the things that I plan to do this year is get that book finished and out on the streets.
Oh, that is fantastic. Please let me know, or let Josh let me know because I do other podcasts, and I would like to put that on other podcasts too. He was actually, I think he was on one of the very, very early shows. We started doing podcasts for the Bayside Gazette in, I think, 2007, which was way before anyone else was doing podcasts. And it was kind of the joke. People would be like, what are you doing? What do you mean?
What is a podcast?
Yeah, it was really, really, really strange, especially given what happened in the next 7 years. So I believe he was an early guest, and I'm going to see if I can dig out that episode. But I also have been told that you are establishing a scholarship, or in his name, rather.
Yes. Through the Art League of Ocean City, there's a Jim Adcock Art Scholarship. We made the first award last year. It's not only visual arts, because Jim loved all the arts. He loved music, and he loved theater, and of course was an artist, a painter. So this
and a
particular
political cartoonist of note.
and a cartoonist. Oh,
We
yes.
can't forget he was, I used to say that we had the only legitimate editorial cartoon on the peninsula when he was doing our cartoons.
Oh, that was great. Yeah. He really enjoyed doing the cartoons.
I'm sorry I derailed you again. I'm the worst
That's
host. I'm
okay.
just gonna let me just keep interrupting this poor woman. She's got everything written down. She's on it. Let me stop her and see if I can
No, well,
get her to
settle
start
down,
back
Tony, because I have nothing written down. This is fine.
So you were saying that we were talking about the scholarship and how can people donate to it? How can people apply for it? Where can people find all of these things?
All of this can be done through the Art League of Ocean City. And there is a scholarship. They can apply for the scholarship. If you go to the Art League's website on the homepage, you can click at the top and there's a thing for scholarships, and it'll tell you what scholarships are available and what the criteria are, and you can apply. And if you'd like to donate specifically generally to scholarships, or obviously I would prefer if you would donate to the Adcock scholarship, you can just designate that. It's best to donate online on their website because there's a little box where you can signify where you want the money to go.
Mm.
It would be wonderful if people would do that. I am trying to get some things in place that would provide a continuing income stream. But first of all, I'm disorganized and I'm also just busy doing a lot of other things, trying to clear things away. But ultimately, I'm hoping to have a better income stream at my end. And in the meantime, I'm just depending on me and other people who would be interested in keeping the scholarship going in perpetuity. It would be something that I know he would have just loved.
Yes, because he was also very big into the community. He wasn't just an artist off on his own.
Nobody loved Ocean Pines more than Jim. Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. And that is pretty much all I have for you, unless you have something else for me. Is there something I should have asked and didn't, or something that you thought you'd get the opportunity to say, but I didn't provide it?
No, I'm happy that with respect to the Pine Tones, I would just like to say that we are right now actively looking for new people. I'm going to be putting a little thing in the paper soon. And if anybody is interested at all in joining, they're welcome to call me. It's Karen Adcock. Or the easiest thing to do would be to email me. And it's KarenJAdcock@gmail.com.
Very cool. And I will put a link to that in the show notes.
That would be great.
As well. And that will do it for this afternoon. So thank you so much for joining us. And I'm looking forward to talking to you again, maybe ahead of the Christmas concert.
That would be excellent. I would love it.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tony.
The PinesCast is an Ocean Pines Association production. It was written and edited by me, Tony Russo. Executive producer, Josh Davis. Please subscribe wherever you are listening now, or follow if you're on Apple. If you like the show, please tell someone else about it, because that is the best way to get the word out. Every week I say it, and this is a week, so I'm saying it. I would love to have your feedback, and I would love to keep this conversation going. So if you care to email me, you can do that at bytonyrusso@gmail.com. That is bytonyrusso@gmail.com. If, for example, there's a story you want to tell, but you don't want to be on the show to tell it, or there's a story you want me to find out about and have someone else tell it, shoot me an email. I'll get it all worked out. And of course, we would love to have your ratings and reviews on the app of your choice, but mostly we want you to listen to the show. We want you to like the show, and we would very much like it if you told other people about it. You can also send along comments or questions that we will address in future shows as is possible and appropriate. And that is all for this week on the PinesCast.